Oh, we're living it now. Welcome to the Irish NFL show in association with QuinnBet. And if you missed us on Monday and you haven't had a chance to catch up since, that video confirms our exciting plans to head to the US next year for an extended weekend where we'll catch 2 games in 2 football towns in 5 days. You can register your interest, irishnflshow.com/tours, as you saw on the end of the video, and join the party. We'll know all when the schedule launch comes out and we can lock that in. In the meantime, we are back to preview the games that are locked in for week 15. Kieran Boyle and Brian O'Leary joining myself, Conor Brophy, for that very pleasant task ahead of us. The bye weeks are finished, so all teams in action every weekend until week 18 now. A bitter end for some of them, but a lot of exciting prospects ahead for others, not least the Houston Texans, Kieran, who take to the field in Houston and welcome the Cardinals this weekend. They are rolling, and I don't see any reason why the Cardinals should stop them unless you have a different view.
No, I don't have a different view. I think this Texans team, we talk a lot about teams getting hot at the right time. I've liked this Texans team for quite a while, a couple of years now, but obviously they let me down last year. But difficult to start of the season, 0-3 with some close losses at the start, but now they're starting to get hot. The defense, as always, is the story for this Texans team, notwithstanding the work that Stroud has done. And I do like some of those early round picks they got in the draft with Higgins and Noel. But the story for me is more about this Texans team rather than what the Cards do. The Cardinals, it's at this stage, they're just playing out the season. People, like I said last week, people playing for their jobs. Gannon is definitely going to be looking, over his shoulder, making sure he can, put some sort of performance up in the next couple of weeks. There's a couple of people who have helped him. Michael Wilson had a huge game last week, and he's had a couple of good weeks. I think he had 185 against the 49ers. But when you look around this Cardinals team, Murray won't be there next year. They've already washed their hands of him, as I've said numerous times. And it's really at this stage, it's Gannon fighting for his life. Draft picks, what can they do? How can they entice people into the stand? And Jacoby Brissett's doing his part. He's heaving it like a 16-year-old at a cake party. He's just throwing the ball. He's just throwing the ball all over the place 40, 50 times. And if you throw that
this is triggering to me with my 16-year-old at a ball tonight, but please continue.
Yeah, there's an image. But you throw the ball up as many times as he does, and someone's going to get 100 plus yards, and that's what Wilson did last week. But this Cards team is dead and buried. For me, it's a story about what the Texans will do. They're a 10-point favorite, and there's no way the Cardinals would threaten this at all. It's at home. Texans are, starting to get that steam behind them. That defense is just fired on all cylinders, not just Daniil Hunter, but all the rest of them. Kamari Lassiter, you saw the hit Petrie had on Rashee Rice last week.
Produced one of my favorite social media contributions of the past week, if you'll allow me the stage for 2 seconds. Somebody said, when they posted the video, and Rashee Rice just gets opened up, absolutely burst. If you haven't seen the clip yet, it's perfectly legal hit, catches the ball, he's kind of side on, he's in that vulnerable position. The Petrie has a head of steam up and just creases him. Somebody said in the comments underneath, I'd still rather that than stub my toe in the corner of the furniture. It's I can actually completely identify that.
Yeah, listen, and that's just a secondary guy putting a hit like that in. We've seen what Anderson does and Daniil Hunter.
Well, look, Stingley, Anderson, they're loaded.
They are loaded. There's no reason why they can't, just rally behind this defense, knock out 13, 16, 19 points, and get a couple more wins and get that wild card spot, or even, who knows what they might do in that division right now. But they're allowing a league low 1.3 points per drive. The defense is just on point. They've allowed multiple passing touchdowns just 4 times this season. So the defense speaks for themselves. They're everything you want in a team. And when you've got a defense like that, like I said, you just got to put up a couple of scores and sit back and let the rest of them do the job. So that's 10-point spread. It's going to be one of those. It's not going to be a trap game at all. The Cards are, like I said, they're playing out the season. I don't think they've got enough on offense to trouble this Texans team.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Texans are the trap game heading down the stretch. I was trying to think what the nearest analogy is that I can remember from recent season. It's probably where the Bengals were this time last year, where they got players back, they came good, and they just roared down the stretch. They didn't make the playoffs because they had put themselves in too deep a hole. The Texans, on the other hand, unlike last year's Bengals, had a defense that was keeping them in games and was winning a couple against the head. We've talked at length about them. We were talking in your absence, Kieran, on Monday, crediting you with what you'd said about the Texans. Didn't pan out last year, but you were probably 2 years ahead of the curve. It's taken them a while to get to where they wanted to be. They're built very much in their coach, D'Amico Ryan's image. He's a hard nut defensive guy. They know what they're doing, obviously, on that side of the ball, and they just needed to get the offense to where it is right now. And I think there's plenty of room for improvement there. That Stroud-Nico Collins connection is lethal. They look like a team, and let's not forget here, this team has gone to the playoffs 2 years in a row and won playoff games 2 years in a row. So last year we were talking about them adding Stephon Diggs and looking at the missing pieces with the view to making a Super Bowl run. This year the AFC is more open than it was last year. So to your point, they're coming good at just the right time. Cardinals are barely even a speed bump for them. I really cannot see an upset being sprung here. This would be by a mile the shock of the weekend and one of the shocks of the season if they were to turn them over. It's not that the Cardinals can't be frisky, but I think they've passed by the frisky stage of their season and they're back in the Arizona Cardinals of old. They got nothing to offer over the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. You remember they started that season under coach's name begins with a K, offensive coordinator.
Cliff Kingsbury.
They started that great season or kind of like the Colts this year under Cliff Kingsbury. I think they went 8-0. They just absolutely collapsed down the stretch and did nothing. And they're collapsing down the stretch here without having done very much to begin with, unfortunately. I don't see that changing this weekend. Brian?
Only one team has made the playoffs, starting with an 0-3 record since 2000. Do you know what that is, Connor? I'm sure out there.
Do you know, and I heard somebody talking about it during the week, but it was in one ear out the other. Hang on, give me 2 seconds now. I can't remember. Go on.
2018 Houston Texans, repeating itself again this year. Here come the Texans. Texans win, Texans go in the playoffs.
All right, the Bengals that we just mentioned there, who don't look like they'll be repeating last season's trick of winning all their games down the stretch, but do look like they'll be repeating last season's trick of not making the playoffs. They can keep their hopes alive, of course, with a win at home against the Ravens. Brian, will they get it?
Which team do you trust the most going into this game, Connor? It's kind of a reflective piece around the fact that the odds with QuinnBet are 2.5 points, which essentially means both the people who put these selections together are struggling because it's hard to know what we're going to see on Sunday. It's unusual because the Bengals are doing everything that the Ravens wish they could do, which is essentially put up great offensive performances. But right now, kind of both teams are coming out the wrong side of these games because last week, the Ravens struggled to get going for a long time. Then when they did get going, looked like they had the beating of that Steelers team, and there's a very questionable touchdown that was taken off the board to Isaiah Likely. Still kind of scratched me head as to why that wasn't declared a touchdown. But we haven't seen a consistent Ravens offense, certainly this season, probably with the exception of week 1 against the Bills, where they were really, really impressive. And, the frailties of their defense essentially came back to haunt them when they lost that game. And it's a defense with the Bengals, which has cost them this season because we're not too far removed from when they were finding ways to give up games and give up 40-odd points. They seem to have locked it down, having taken care of the Ravens a couple of weeks ago on that Thanksgiving Thursday Night Football. Then last weekend, for large parts, it looked like they were doing a really good job of holding this Bills team in check to a certain extent, allowing them to build up a strong lead. And then they kind of fell apart, albeit there was Joe Burrow interceptions. For me, it's the most difficult game of the weekend to pick. I know there's different selections here, but I'm going to go Ravens to somehow keep within reach of this Steelers team, come out the right side of it, which it's unusual that they're playing each other 2 of the last 3 weeks, but I'll go Ravens to reverse the form of that defeat a couple of weeks ago.
Kieran, the Bengals haven't always been successful in this one, but they nearly always put up points against the Ravens, no matter how good the Ravens are playing defensively. They won the last renewal, obviously, and upset the odds. They're underdogs again at home this time.
Yeah, and like Brian said, this is a tough one to pick. I mean, you could say the Ravens are starting to put some stuff together. Lamar is showing a little bit more consistency, but then again, you got Burrow back there. But I mean, the 25 Bengals have lost 3 games in which they've scored 34 plus points, and there's only one team in the last 20 years that's done that, and that was the 2024 Bengals. It's just phenomenal. They put up all these points and they keep losing these games, and we saw last week they flattered to deceive against the Bills? Are they going to get that chance to put up a run and finish the game strong and even go into December with a bit of a tailwind? But I mean, it's just this Bills team or this Bengals team. I mean, we heard a couple of sound bites from Joe Burrow during the week, and I think it was yesterday, where he's, I don't want to say crestfallen, but you can see that the game is kind of weighing on him. It seems like he's not doubting his ability or not doubting his love of the game, but he's got to be annoyed and pissed off at what's been going on with the Bengals. I mean, you look around the league and teams are just stockpiling talent everywhere, and he's basically still going out there with a ramshackle O-line, which I will say has got better over the past couple of weeks. So that hasn't really been the main problem, but that defense is just god awful. And when you're putting up points and when you're scrambling and you're doing all those things that Burrow does, and then the ball goes back to the other team, and boom, it's 7 before you can blink. I mean, he's got to be annoyed with that. And he looks around at other teams like the Bills and the Patriots and the Eagles that are just, like I said, stockpiling talent and drafting well and paying the players and keeping the players that they want. And I'm not saying that he's going to want to move on from the Bengals because he is an Ohio boy, but it's got to have him thinking to himself, I've already put up some great years, but I've got nothing to show for it but a Super Bowl appearance. I need more. I want more. So we'll see how the offseason goes. He's putting his body on the line every single game. And, he was eager to come back last week, and he's just a competitor. But it gets to the point where, you bang your head against the wall for so long, and it's going to get to the stage where, do I really want to keep doing this? So that said, this is a classic pick 'em this game. I mean, the Ravens, their offense is not being what they were. I mean, last year, I think they're struggling to move the ball. They're 29th in the league in converting third and short. The 49% league average is their last season they converted 77.4% of those third downs. So obviously we know that the offense is struggling, but for me, I think they're going to have enough. I think Lamar and the rest of the team, Andrews, Zay Flowers, they're starting to click probably at the right time right now, because it is that kind of crux time where teams want to, kind of hold the cards until it gets to mid to late December, where they really start putting that playoff push. Ravens are 6-7. They're looking across to the Steelers, and they're going to want to take that spot. I just think that the Ravens are going to have too much for the Bengals. Something to bear in mind: all the outdoor games this week are going to be in frigid conditions, so it's going to be real cold up there. Probably not a lot of ball being thrown around, so expect a lot of Derrick Henry, a little bit of Chase Brown. I'm sure that the Bengals are going to try and stop Henry as much as they can, but can that defense stop him is the question. I think the Ravens are going to have just enough for the Bengals.
Yeah, pick 'em game for me, Brian, as you and Kieran, as you've both been saying. I actually had to double check the spreadsheet there to see which team I did actually pick, because I know I went back and forth like both of you have. I am going to go with the Bengals, though, just because I think it's the more fun pick. And I do think that last week's Burrow performance is a little bit of just the ring rust shown itself. I think a game further advanced, he may be even sharper, and we know he knows how to deal with this Ravens team. So let's see what happens there. But I'm picking the Bengals to win. You talk about frigid conditions, Kieran. The game at Soldier Field could be one of the coldest in Soldier Field history. Real cold front there in Chi-Town. The Browns come to town, who not exactly unfamiliar with playing in the cold themselves, from Cleveland. Bears are 7.5-point favourites at home, looking to bounce back from their first loss in 6. They dropped a game, of course, in Lambeau, where they were driving to tie or win. Caleb Williams throws an interception. This is, probably yet another slight prove-it game for Caleb. It's an absolute gotta-have-it win for the Bears. I, as a Bears fan, I'm like the little kid from The Sixth Sense. I don't see dead people, though I see trap games everywhere, because I'm so used to seeing the Bears fall flat on their faces in this scenario. And this does set up, at least on the surface, as something of a potential trap game for the Bears. And then you think, okay, the Browns won last week. Shedeur Sanders showed a little something. That's interesting and adds a little bit of extra spice to this one. But he's playing against the Titans.
They didn't win, Connor. They didn't win. Titans won. He won. He won his performance. He
won. The Titans didn't. Yeah, you're quite right. But point being, he did show something.
Yeah.
Been getting some good reviews over the past week. But I don't think that is going to be up to much against this Bears secondary, which is going to be very different from the one that he faced last week. Bears up front, pass rush is not where it should be, and we saw Jordan Love make hay because of that last weekend, because the Bears have to blitz a lot, and Jordan Love is a blitz killer. I think the Bears have the running game in as good a place as any running game in the league. We've seen that over the last 2 weeks against the Eagles, and even more so against the Packers, whose defense has been in really good form, and the Bears were still able to push them around in the second half in the snow. This sets up perfectly for the kind of game Chicago wants to play. I think they will play that game, and I think they will win. Brian?
Yeah, you covered the Bears piece very well. So I wanted to kind of flip to the Browns more so, Connor, because I was listening to Shannon Sharp, some little snippets from his podcast with AJ Cinco, whatever he's pronounced these days. I can't recall any.
Chad Ochocinco. It's
there we go. Sorry, apologies to
Spanish, Brian. It's not Klingon, like it's not.
Yeah,
you know,
apologies to the fan base. Apologies to his fan base. But they made a very good point that they feel that why didn't the Browns not solidify him as the quarterback a couple of weeks ago when he was playing, as in he's our starter for the remainder of the season, because we all knew that was inevitable. But now they've done it, and it's like as if they're trying to get a get-out-of-jail card. That's the way. They really don't want him to be the quarterback of the future there, because they've got to play the Bears, the Bills, the Steelers, and then the Bengals. And it's like as if they're saying they're putting him up now as a starting quarterback with a hiding to nothing ahead of him over the next 4 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. He's on a hiding to nothing on Sunday because, as I said on Monday's instant reaction and Monday's show, sometimes you watch an NFL game and kind of you'll love this because you know where I'm going with this. Sometimes you watch an NFL game and you're more impressed by the loser than you are the winner. And I was by the Bears last weekend. I think the Bears are going to come out on Sunday still ruined with that unfortunate situation at the end where they lost the game, because they knew that one was there for the taking, and they come out the right side of it on Sunday and they really put a beat down on this Browns team. It's a big rocking chair game for you on Sunday evening, Connor, by 8 o'clock, which will probably concern you even more. There you go.
Well, yeah.
Bears by 20.
don't ever say that's just trolling, man. That's terrible. You're gaslighting me now in a big way. Kieran.
It's the Bears. It's got to be the Bears.
All right, let's move on to Arrowhead, where the Chiefs welcome the Chargers. Chiefs hanging in the balance at, I know I said we wouldn't say it again, 6-7 on their record while the Chargers come to town. Kieran, how do you see this one?
Well, I mean, the Chiefs are a 4-point favorite, and they're a 4-point favorite for a reason, because Vegas does not believe in the Chargers. I don't believe in the Chargers. I don't know how in the world they beat the Eagles the other night.
5 turnovers.
That too. But
Jalen Hurts turns the ball over twice in the same play. You have to go back to the 70s the last time somebody managed to do that.
Well, yes, that did help. But when you look around at the Chargers offense, I mean, it was anemic. It was Justin Herbert looking around. Nope, tuck the ball. I got 2 yards. Looking around. Nope, no one's open. 4 yards. Next thing you know, it's a first down. So, again, a miracle win for the Chargers. Ever since I saw them get dog walked by the Jaguars at home about a month ago, I just can't trust in this Chargers team. I mean, they just did not show for that game in perfect conditions, and for some reason just decided not to play. So that sticks with me when I think about the Chargers. I want to believe in them. I want to kind of, give Herbert his credit, which I will to an extent. But I mean, the talk about the O-line and the injuries to Alt, I mean, it's got to creep up sooner or later. I mean, the offense couldn't move the ball at all. I mean, they're lucky that they ran into an Eagles team that was just star-crossed. But I can't see that happening again this week. I just don't think there's enough on offense for this team to do any real damage. The Chiefs team, I mean, yes, they've got injuries on the O-line too. They're out Josh Simmons, they're out Wanya Morris, Jawan Taylor, I think, is injured too. So that's 3 big players out of the front 5 that's going to be missing for the Chiefs. Notwithstanding that, and this is weird, this has a feel of a Sunday night or a Monday night game as opposed to an early game. But for me, it's until the Chiefs are 6 feet below and we're pouring dirt on the coffin, I just cannot. There's just too much PTSD for me to believe that this team is done, even at 6-7. I think I saw somewhere there's an 11% chance they have to make the playoffs. They could turn that 11 into 81 in the blink of an eye. And like I said, this Chargers team coming across this country, it's going to be 27 degrees, feels like about 10. So they're not going to fancy that. It's not going to be the beautiful surroundings of the SoFi Stadium. So it's going to be a tough out for them. They're going to be playing earlier in the day for them on their clock. For me, the Chiefs, this is again, and I know we said this last week when they came up short against the Texans, but this is just until they're 6 feet under and we're, eulogizing their legacy, and we're talking about Kelsey and Mahomes in the past tense. I'm refusing to believe this Chiefs team is done. Even, notwithstanding the fact that they've struggled on offense too. I mean, the lasting image may be of this Chiefs team that dropped or that turnover by Kelsey, that drop pass and the turnover by the Texans. So I still can't believe it. Even if they're 6-8, I still won't believe it until it's mathematically impossible. So I like the Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs at home in that poor weather. Chargers won't fancy it. Herbert's already banged up. He's got a nail or a screw in his hand. He's got banged up players all around him. He doesn't exactly have somebody like, Quentin Johnston's not been, setting the world on fire. He's got McConkey out there, but maybe Keenan Allen can contribute. But I want to believe in the Chargers. I just can't for this particular game in this weather. And I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree with 99.9% of what you're saying there as well, Kieran. I mean, if you think back to the start of the season and the way we saw the Chargers start and the optimism and the improvements that we thought that they'd made and where you thought that they would be at this stage of the season, I would have thought you'd be much more confident about the Chargers coming and repeating the job and doing the double over the Chiefs than we actually are. Like you, I looked at that Eagles game and I thought, how did they come out the right side of that? It was a strange game. Good that they've got a Marion Hampton back. They seem to have coped better at times with the gaps on the O-line than we thought that they might, but they just haven't progressed from where they were last season, and they haven't progressed from the start that they put in and from that big victory that they recorded over the Chiefs on the opening day of the season. The Chiefs, for me, are like Aladdin. They're one jump ahead of the lawman, one swing ahead of the sword, and I think they stay one jump ahead of the lawman. Like you, I won't believe that they're done until I see the actual proof of death, and right now I don't see that. At 6-7, they're still going to believe that they can cash in on that 11% chance. That starts with this game where they owe the Chargers one and where I expect them to pay it back. That game against the Texans, I mean, they've had some tough losses, but I think there's any shame in losing to that Texans team playing the way they are right now. The Chiefs won't see it that way. That's why they're the Chiefs. That's why they are a great team. They're not the team that they were, but I think they're capable of taking down the Chargers this weekend. Brian?
Kieran suggested you've got an 11%. What's this number? 11%. They're going to make the playoffs. That's the magical number right now. That's the precarious number you see on your phone. Kind of, your phone's about to die. You see 11%, and you go, "Oh no, I'm on the back end of it here." But what you do, you plug in the charger, and you get yourself up to around 30%, and that is what the Chiefs are going to do this weekend. They were going to charge, win, and then put themselves into that 30% precarious situation. They got to win out. It's well within their remit, bearing in mind who they got ahead of them. I still think they could do it, but Chiefs for me.
Jeez, I let it go down to 4% before I start worrying, Brian. You're much more conservative than me.
Oh,
that's reckless.
Yes, that's. I couldn't live in that world.
Shoddy workmanship. Right, quick picks. Commanders at Giants. I will take the Commanders in this one. Sorry, lads. Brian?
Two ravaged teams in terms of injuries. I think the Giants will win and move out at one spot in the draft selections.
Kieran?
These are dark days. I'm taking Washington.
Eagles at home against the Raiders. Really, this is an absolute bounce back game for the Eagles. It's got to be Philadelphia for me, Kieran.
Yep, Eagles.
Brian?
Kenny Pickett going back. He's in for a terrible day ahead. Big win for the Eagles on Sunday.
Can he pick it? No, he can't. Segment ends. We will take a quick break. We'll be right back.